Let him have it. How fast he can go with the flow of mine, the speed of my wave, of my sound of my voice, the sweetest in a way or to go away. This one I wanna go the flow with the wave. I wanna go with this movement all the way. Let me have it all the way into the flow of the track. You know this spitting's gotta be done in a certain way. You gotta have it this moment, let him have it. You got to know this moment of your life is through. You gotta know this way of the flipping way. You got to know this way it's gonna be true. You got to know this flow and go with the rhythm. You gotta have the moment in your heart. You gotta have this pumping feeling through your veins. You gotta take this in vain and know what you're saying. You gotta have it in your ears and speak it softly. You gotta have it in this moment. You got to know. Please let him move around and then go to give him the space. You know you got to let them have it and go the way. You got to have this momentum and keep it going. This noise control is gotta take over. You gotta have the rhythm all the way into your throat. You got to know this melody is coming from your voice box. You gotta know whether you're listening and where you're thinking. You gotta have this state of mind in your mind and peak. You gotta know where this goes and you got to make bananas. You know you got to have the shit you throw. You know you got to say what to do. To know what you're saying, you got to have some lyric. You gotta have a word, a key thing to do. You gotta know where this key, where it goes. You know the door you gotta open, you gotta know the flow. You gotta know where this feeling got to go. You know this emotion, this population going around. You gotta know the aura of your space. You gotta know and give them some room and have them have it. You got to know this flow is gonna get to you. You know this way is gonna go. This is the flow you're going. This is the target you set. This is the how you're flying so high. You know this level is for you. You know you gotta give them the room. Give them the space to move the rap and do this hip hop, this rhythm and the blues. You got to know this flow of the rock. You know the stuff is gotta know be known. You got to know this flow. You gotta know this way. You gotta know all the way and speak your mind. You gotta need this flow and let it go. You got to know this momentum is going all the way. You gotta know how to go and speak it so. You gotta know and listen and look at your way. You know this way is gonna be acting a way of the warrior way. You know the split seconds gotta go and you gotta say it in a way the way to say it. You gotta know this flow is going all your way. You gotta know how rich and the treasure you hold. You gotta know how far your lady will go. You gotta know you got your boys on your back. You know this children of mine's got some smiles. When I saw it for the first time, I loved it so. I see that sweet way in my honey buds. I gotta go with the flow and you gotta give them the room. You gotta know this flow is true to me. You gotta know this way it's gotta be so right. You know this moment's gotta go and pass. You know you gotta go and keep going and rolling and rolling. Tomorrow to the day and bounce it along. You know you gotta take this road trip and just roll it along. Where the wheels go round the bus and the body chop is going. You gotta chop it all up and stitch it all up again. You gotta put this moment in your life and you got to go with the flow. You know this momentum is in your heart. You know the bottle's gotta spill and fill the cup. You know this piss has gotta put all back together. You know you gotta do the flow and gotta give the space. You know you gotta do what you got to do. You know when it is and will the way, the natural way. You know you got to see the icon of the nature of the tree. You know you gotta put the smiles all in the face. You gotta have the cheers and the way the one you got to go. You know this way is the way to twerk it all the way. You know it's the bouncing, it's the bubbles in your face. You know this is the way you wanna come and so. You know this is the X and the G spot to go. You know this is the way you wanna go. You know the flow and the time and the way it all moves around. There's a gravity and reality and this physics goes around. You know this flow of mind you gotta lift. This dead way over this physics level you got to go. You gotta become unscratchable and have the split second on the go. The warrior way's gotta be in your heart. You gotta do the freestyle and spit it on the mic. You gotta see the selfie and take it yourself. You gotta do this way and all the way. You gotta get everyone bouncing and off their heads. You gotta see the explosion of the mind. You gotta have this moment all the rest of your life. So pump it up and listen to the speaker because this beat is gonna be made one day for me. So beef, much love, peace.